Hey everybody, if you're joining, I'm inviting people to the group or to the broadcast. Yes, I am doing it from the bedside today. I had a little debate going on in my mind and in my spirit, and right where I am is where God is, and that's where who's going to have to show up today. While I'm sharing with all of you, I hope you don't mind. I know some of you are going to say, you didn't have to do the live. But I have this thing about honoring my commitments. And I can tell you why. There was a time in my life where I've quit on me. And so I continue to create new precedences every time I surrender how it has to look. And so I show up anyway. So I hope some of you can take that away into, what it is that you're looking to manifest. So we're going to talk in a minute as other people join in. Hopefully you all can share. Hopefully the signal stays and all that great stuff. So I'm just inviting. How you like, look at her in the bed. Alrighty. Hi ladies, how are you all? I can see you now. So, happy Wednesday to everyone. I want to check to make sure you can hear me okay. I had a little debate on, fighting my body and getting up to broadcast and do all the things on my to-do list, but my body is winning today, this fight, this to-do list, all of this. And I've been pushing it with this move, closing out end of the year business. My mind, so many tabs are open in my brain. So I'm definitely so quite naturally, I tend to be a perfectionist, and I definitely have seen my own coaches who broadcasted from the bed when they've been sick or under the weather. And I was like, wow, that takes a lot to be able to do that. To be so transparent and just come as you are, right? We talk about coming as we are, but then when it comes to when you're used to being a perfectionist or doing certain things a certain way, you won't do it at all. And so I have this thing about commitment and honoring my word again, because I have quit on me in the past. So today I want to talk to you about the sweet spot of compensation, because oftentimes we touch on this whole money thing. We'll stay on it for a month. We're playing a lot with Bitcoin and gold in a separate group from amongst this tribe. Many of you are on that team, and more I'm observing how much we have to unlearn and learn about what money really is on one hand. But I want to talk to you from a perspective today that oftentimes people consider to be soft skills, right? When it comes to looking at your financial affairs or looking at your sweet spot, whatever the sweet spot is that you desire, whatever the sweet spot is of compensation. And I'm going to tell you, this came from some coaching conversations that I've had with some perfectionists, with some high achievers, women who win, women who show up in the world, women who are high achievers, right? Okay, here we go. Waiting for the service person to come to do to set up my internet, right? So I'll set up for you guys. So you want into Bitcoin or gold, Patsy? Is that what you're saying? You're welcome to connect with me on that. But listen, I want to ask you a question. As overachieving and accomplished, and those of you who have so much to show for how brilliant you are, I want to ask you a question. Do you actually live from a boxed heart or from a bruised heart? Do you actually live? Thank you. And hey, y'all. Hey, everybody who said hey. Thanks for saying hey when you came in. Do you live from a boxed heart or from a bruised heart? I want you to put your answers in. You know we're family here, so I want you to put your comment in your response in the comments. I want you to really consider, because when we think about money, when we think about those of us who have had things, lost things, because some of us have lost everything or have given away everything. In my case, I know I've given away everything in order to let go and live abroad, right? That could be a book title. And, you know, those of you who have degrees, you're not hurting for anything financially, or you'd like to see some things. Have you lived with a boxed heart or a bruised heart? Come on now. Thank you, Tanya, for answering. Okay, thank you, Tommy, for answering. Come on, be honest. I want you to consider this. Have you lived with a boxed heart or a bruised heart? Hopefully this crown is projecting and lifting up the energy of the migraine that was coming. I'm so glad you asked, BB. What is the difference between a boxed heart and a bruised heart? Well, a boxed heart is when you have closed off. You are protective, self-protective, and so nothing really can go out or come in because you're protecting it. There may be some people who get in the box with you, but the bruised heart has no box. It is the one that is out there. It is living. You keep on you live from your heart space. And sometimes when you live from your heart space, you get disappointed by people. Sometimes you may be disappointed with yourself when you live from a bruised heart. But when you live with a boxed heart, you're very cautious. You don't take risk. You're very careful about who you open up to, who you let in your circle. And sometimes when your heart is boxed, living inside of that box is a lot of contempt, right? And so I'm glad that you asked that question, right? Because I remember when one of my teachers, a master who made a master. I didn't know he was making me into a master coach. Peace and blessings upon him, Master Coach Ron Davis. And he used to always say, LaTanya, you got to look. He said, what are you doing? Are you living with a boxed heart or a bruised heart? The bruised heart often has to practice forgiveness quite frequently. So I want to tell you something about the sweet spot of compensation. For a lot of women, we have attachments to having things, and not just things, it can also be recognition. Thank you all for your comments. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. If somebody doesn't mind, will you put the question in the comments? For those who come in late, just put in question. Do you live with a boxed heart or a bruised heart? because a lot of times when we look at what we have achieved, when you assess it, is it your life that you're living, or are you living on the program of shoulds? Shoulds about what it is that you think you should have by a certain age, what it is that you think you should do more or less of. Are you living on shoulds? Because this may be an opportunity to stop shoulding on yourself. I told you that this came from one of my clients, a private coaching session, and not just one, actually. It keeps coming up. A lot of us who have unmet needs are seeking to be compensated by the way that we are showing up in the world. In other words, we're looking for compensation for the unmet needs that we've had very early on in our lives. Come on now. I want you to get that in your spirit. Many of us are looking for compensation for that which has never was given. Now, we're looking for compensation through being good, from being smart, from having this title, this zip code, from doing. And this is why a lot of you who, like me, who are type A personalities, burn out so easily. And yet we keep going, but then we get sick. We have sisters like Tanya Freeman who can tell you testimonies of living through breast cancer. We have sisters like Sabira who can tell you testimonies of not only living, but then watching many of our sisters leave the earth, right? So, I every now and then I go through a period. There's some people who do not use coaching. I don't care how many big name coaches get on Instagram and Facebook and they advertise about their first 6-figure breakthrough. A lot of times, y'all, they do not make that money straight coaching. They usually either have a full-time job, so they're able to build slowly. Excuse me. People need to come in here. So what do I need to do? Get up? Or can they just come in with me covered up? Because I'm on a live and okay. So again, that's service people coming in. They're just going to have to come in like this today. So a lot of times when we have unmet needs, and if I left off, if somebody can put the last thing that I said in there, I'm going to pick up what's coming up right now. When we look at our affairs financially, but when I was saying that basically when you look at coaches, a lot of coaches, who have done it well, right? We don't oftentimes tell you about the people who don't pay us. This is another reason for anyone who is in a helping profession, like massage therapy, like angel therapy, like all of the things that the world needs right now, like coaching or teaching, for instance. Having multiple streams of income is important. But one of the things about the feminine business model is that a lot of times it does not include the regular business model does not include you being juicy. It's okay for you to burn yourself out because we live in a world of Gary V's. Y'all like Gary V, right? But Gary V, a feminine woman has to listen to Gary V and there's that other, the hip hop preacher and all of them with a discerning ear, because you're not weak. I'm not weak because we don't move at the pace of of other people who are out there grinding, going hard, that type of thing, because many of you have been healers. You've been called to be healers. And so when I see so many of my sisters who are well accomplished in the world and are trying to navigate how to be in the world but not of it, I want to talk to you today, because sometimes you may think that it's underachieving when you don't go hard or go home, right? But the compensation oftentimes for the empath, the compensation for the business, for the feminine business model is living in the center of pleasure. And it's a soft approach. I had a conversation with a business partner who is just as heart-centered as I am. And I said this on another broadcast, maybe we were rubbing each other the wrong way, kinda. And I said, and we got to the bottom of what was not being communicated, because we knew we loved each other. And what was not being communicated was everybody, by the way, has a core issue. The unmet need that I talked about, a lot of times your unmet need is communicating louder than the person that you are interacting with. And if you believe the ego will win in situations, and you will find yourself disengaging, shutting down, making judgments, closing off, and living with the boxed heart. So when it comes to the giving and the receiving principle of money or abundance or prosperity, a lot of times it's not because our skill level is low. It's not because we aren't brilliant. It's not because of anything that we are doing wrong, even though we can all continue to learn, because this world moves so fast that we have to continue to shift. It's because we have issues of the heart. There are things that we have walked around with in contempt and unforgiveness, even if it is our own mother, our own father, where we have had unmet needs. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate the encouragement. It lets me know that I'm talking to somebody that's alive out there. But listen, a lot of times we have unmet needs. And so we're looking to be compensated oftentimes in a world of normal, a world that appears normal, rather. It really is not normal. It is quite abnormal. And so when you wake up and you are the only one in your family talking like you're talking, walking like you're walking, disengaging from certain things, certain conflict, when you begin to be the only one that's at the table that will ask the question, you're the only one in your circle. Sometimes sometimes this journey of awakening will make you think that something is not right. You're not doing something right. Hello, I'm telling you, I cannot tell you when how many times I have gone through situations where clients don't pay me, or they don't pay me on time, or they don't keep their word. And I have questioned, should I continue to do this? Because I got to eat. You know, I don't do this for free. Y'all think that sometimes coaches just show up to hold the phone on the other end. But I have programs. I am by design I am a master of programming and partnerships in business. This is the reason why I've had many coaches say, oh, well, you got to pick a niche. You should talk to divorced ladies, or you should talk to ladies who are looking for men. No, you can't should on me and tell me, because I operate in the realm of love, sex, and money, because that is the place where I have had to rebirth the most. And I continue to rebirth in love, sex, and money. And let me tell you why. Because we think that it's disconnected, and it's not. And just because you out in the world and you got your money, how many of you got your man? How many of you can hold on to your marriage? How many of you are able to be fully present in the lives of your children? Oh, I see my eyelashes blinking, my eyes blinking. That means spirit is starting to move. I thought I was just going to lay down here and just have a little fireside chat with you today. But look, A lot of us have compensation issues, right? And we think that it's about paying your bills. It's about getting on a budget. But the truth of the matter is we've been on a budget. We have been on a budget because when we live with a boxed heart, many of us have a mentality of being on a budget. We're afraid to give too much of ourselves because we haven't forgiven ourselves for the place that we gave ourselves away the first time, the third time, and the seventh time. Come on now. And many of us now are on a budget when it comes to our physicality as well, right? I was just in a conversation with another person. I'll be honest with you, we have not talked in a couple of years because I was tired of being the one trying to hold on and resolve the conflict. Come on, am I by myself? You're the voice of reason, and you get tired because sometimes we are putting our breast in people's mouth that did not ask us to. But because we are nurturers, we don't have any milk for the thing to nourish the thing that we've been called to do. And so when you begin to answer your purpose, your pleasure, and your passion, which is where all roads for love, sex, and money leads to with Rebirth International, is your purpose, your pleasure, and your passion working together as the power of the P, right? And so when it comes to them working together for your good and the good of those who love you, right? A lot of times we think it's about something tactical and technical that we're not doing. Listen, when we teach next year in the master class, I'm strongly considering, I'm asking from feedback from those who are already on the Succulent Success team, whether my monthly master class, that should just be reserved all year for Money Charm, for all year for money, because I, for a long time, would not talk about money because I felt like if I didn't have a whole lot of it, who was I to talk about it with? How was I going to teach about it? But what I know is every time I walk around heavy and worried and sometimes pissed off and then I take the high road because I have given of myself sometimes to a client who won't pay me when they say they're going to pay me, or I've made adjustments and payment plans and different things like that. Or I'm mad at myself because I forgot to pay a bill and then the bill compounds and it has interest when all I had to do was set my calendar. Or there's something that I just didn't have emotional capital for, but yet I end up having to pay for it later. In other words, you pay now or you pay later. And many times, and it hurts my heart when I see so many women who I've seen come in and do the work. And the moment life happens, you out of here. You're shut down. You don't want anybody to know. Whose life are you living? And are you living with a bruised heart or a boxed heart, right? Because when your money is funny, it's easy to go and look at your accountant and what you need to stop doing. But it's hard sometimes to say, what is it that I need to give up? Who do I need to forgive? Every time I have been in a place of lack in my life, I have learned to challenge myself to give a little bit more. It is counterintuitive because there was a time in my life where I started shutting down. I started protecting because you got to remember, a part of, you said, stop stepping on my toes. A part of my life, I'm not trying to step on your toes, but I've been known to do that. It must be a part of my anointing. But a part of my story, I since 19 years old, I came into building organizations and working for my people. That was my mentality. So when my friends was clubbing and when they were getting booty And I was still trying to learn how to be a wife and to navigate that at 19, right? Because I was on Southern University's campus in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, baby, when I got my first wake-up call. And when I think about my religious journey, when I think about how I dedicated myself to God in the name of God, when I covered my head on campus, when I really wanted to do some other things, but in the name of God, I gave myself. So when I started to wake up to myself, it was hard not to look at those years of giving and building and doing right and being good as something that was taken from me. So I made, along the way, when you start living with a box tart, is you start making decisions. You start making decisions about who you're going to date, how you're going to choose. I'm not going to I'm not going to let nobody else make a fool of me like that. If you have unhealed mother issues, you quick to tell somebody, you're not my mother. I don't like the way you talk to me. But you didn't really like the way your mama talked to you, and you didn't deal with that. Unmet needs. And so you're looking for compensation somewhere else in somebody else a lot of times. Or you didn't like the way your father talked to you. I'm one who can be very sensitive to the tone of a man to me. My father is a Cancer, so he had a hard outer shell. And a lot of times when my daddy used to respond to me, I couldn't understand why he would respond to me in a certain tone of voice. I'm an empath. I'm very sensitive. And so, but I dare not say anything to my daddy. My daddy just didn't play that. My mama, we used to have verbal wars. But my daddy, I didn't have no verbal wars. So what did I do? I internalized a lot of the decisions about myself as a result of him. I go on to do this work. Come on now. Am I talking to myself in here? I go on to do my spiritual work. I begin to wake up. So I start to practice forgiveness. And so as I practice forgiveness, I forgive daddy. I forgive mama. I have a breakthrough story so powerful that I know that anybody who works with me that has daddy issues, I know that you can turn it around because I have seen it. Whether your father is dead or alive, I have seen it. I know that I can work with people to heal mama issues because I've had to first of all discover that I had them and then do it, right? I have done it. But what I missed in my journey is, and I'm not talking about now, but later on, I realized I never forgave myself for the decisions that I made about myself not being enough or not being loved. When you believe that you're not good enough, you're not loved, you start to create stories and scripts that you build a lifetime around. If you think that you're too dark, if you think that you are the black sheep, if you think that you're too skinny, if you think that you're too loud, if you think that that's not appropriate, all of those things. And listen, I get detailed in the shadows because many of us don't like talking about the shadow. But the shadow is what keeps us up at night. The shadow is what has us carrying weight on our bodies. The shadow is what has us carrying other things inside of our bodies. And I'm not saying that I'm exempt from any of this, but I know as a metaphysician that I am aware of it such that when a pattern begins to show up, that it's time for me to question myself. And listen, there's not just an individual pattern. There is a pattern in families, but there is also a pattern in the collective. And when we look at the condition of our finances in the collective, it is not because we don't have money flowing through. It is not because we are not brilliant. It is because most of us are living with a boxed heart or a bruised heart and don't know the difference. And so getting to the sweet spot of compensation is not just about grinding. I have seen so many young professionals, the ones who hit the 6 figures and the 7 figures, who have been on the brink of suicide because their money is thriving, but they are not thriving personally. I have seen it in the last 5 years consistently. People don't even talk about the partner from Miss Jessie's. Y'all remember her? The beautiful sister who built an empire excuse me, my headache is going away. And she killed herself. Do y'all remember her? Then there were two more after her. Then there were some brothers, all thriving monetarily. When you start to reduce yourself to what it is your net worth is, and you haven't dealt with your self-worth, it sounds frilly. It sounds hocus pocus. It sounds esoteric. And it probably is, but so is money, my own natural energy yield. So is love, my sweet spot. I can't get to my sweet spot if I'm boxed. A heart that is bruised heals. A heart that is bruised heals. The Bible speaks of heart hundreds of times, because if you go back and read any scripture that refers to the heart, replace the word with subconscious mind. I want to leave you with some tools. Many of us know about affirmations, right? But oftentimes we don't talk about denials. In order for your affirmations to be effective, there sometimes has to be a denouncing of the thing that has had a grip on your life. This is the reason why I want to do the 7 days of getting naked, getting transparent. Sometimes as women, we need to make verbal the thing that we have been carrying on the inside of us, because it's like a recorder. It's something that is a recording that something has to do is happen in our lives. And that recording, you push play on it, and before you know it, you're in the loop. I want to do that beta test of 7 days in the group. If you aren't in the money circle, maybe that's what I need to call it, the money circle. It really is the G4 right now, but I'm probably going to change the name because I keep hearing Spirit say focus on money. But listen, look at the universal law. What I said I wouldn't at a certain time I wouldn't talk about money. But it would always come up with my clients, and I would teach them privately. But publicly, I thought that somebody might call me on it. How's she going to teach something? But baby, I haven't had so much money running through my fingers. I mean, from your young girl. I done had houses when nobody was buying a house. I was in Harvey, Louisiana, purchasing my first house, baby. And not with no loan. I had so much money running through my fingers when I was a young girl that I could put a lump sum deposit on a house and not even have to finance it in that way. I could just assume the loan of the previous owner. Do you hear what I'm telling you? So don't look at my now. Don't look at me right now in my choices of keeping things simple. I know what it is to be a kept woman. I've done that. But some of you, and listen, probably none of you that are on this live, so I'm going to talk to the sisters that ease on here and ease off. Some of the most kept women are the most miserable women on the planet, because as long as you got the check coming in and everything is being maintained, a lot of times you will not show up for yourself. And I'm going to tell you, I've had to let go. I did it again. Now, I didn't do it just one time. I did it in Louisiana. I did it in Maryland. So I know I'm a powerful manifester. I'm aligned there. And so because I know that, when I'm not manifesting what it is I desire, sometimes I can't even see how much I have done, because I'm still looking at what it is I desire to do. Am I by myself? Am I alone on that one? This is why I want to do the Get Naked Challenge. It could lead to forgiveness before the close of the year. I do invite you all to consider forgiveness, because you think that it's your money that's funny, but y'all pissed off and angry and in contempt, and you've shut down and you've guarded your heart. Yes, Tanya said, held captive by compensation. Okay, now let me look at your comments in here. Okay, Tanya said, yes, I remember that. The CEO of the Caribbean food maker Golden Crust was found dead. Apparent suicide. I didn't know about that one. I didn't know about that one, but I did just read another young lady who said she was about to have a nervous breakdown, and she built a 7-figure empire doing like these beauty boxes, and she has a podcast and everything. And I'm telling you, it's easy to do. I know that I have been on the brink of breakdown myself, even, and let me tell you how we get there. Let me be real transparent. Can we get naked right now? It's easy when you're brilliant. It's easy when you're abundant to be on the brink of a breakdown, because oftentimes you know your friends, and you say, if they're going through something, you don't go to them. You don't go to them and you don't say anything to them. Or sometimes you go to your friends and they say stuff like, oh, you're strong, you'll get through it. But you're telling them, I'm hurting. I'm on the edge. I don't know what to do. You stop talking. When people are all around you are relying on you, then who do you tell? And then if you are awake, do you go tell your family that's sleeping? A lot of times, no, because they don't get it. They're going to give you the traditional solution to go back. Well, you just should go back to work, baby. Why don't you just go get you a job? I remember one time my mother said, well, you know, you could come on home and you can go work at the Nissan factory. Can y'all see me working at the Nissan factory? And it hurt my heart that my mother would even suggest that. Damn, mama, can you see me working at a Nissan factory, mama? So your mother issues is not always, or your family issues is not always because they've done you wrong. They may have done the best that they could, but it still was under compensation for who you are in the world. And they cannot give to you what it is that you're supposed to receive. It's not them. It's out there. Bobby Hemmett says that he said, leave them damn family members alone. Leave them where you find them. Because many times y'all we are looking about our family to get us, our family to understand us, and they by design. I can't say it the way Bobby Hemmett said it. He explained it scientifically in your bloodline, how the people closest to you are the biggest tests and why they are designed to be. So that is why when people get ready to succeed, then when they get ready and get focused. And I heard a millionaire say, the one reason why most of us do not manifest what it is that we say we're about in the world is because why? Tell me why. Before I give you the answer, tell me what you think the one reason is many of us keep on bumping into the same thing. Financially, emotionally, whatever. Your sweet spot. Why is it you can't get to that sweet spot of your compensation? Because sometimes your compensation is not just the money. So I'm asking you, why do you think? Put in the comments. I'm going to wait on the delay. And then watch when I hang up this live, I'm going to pass out. Because I promise you I was barely picking up my legs before I got on this live. Now I'm getting energy from somewhere. We all know where that somewhere is. And I intended not to even be that long. But I'm breaking up anything called perfection. I'm waiting on your responses while I'm talking. I'm interrupting any perfectionism that would keep me from showing up for what I am birthing, what I am nurturing. Because when I nurture in this space, I get too much feedback from all of you. You said the one thing that keeps us is looking for family approval. That's not it. Put another one, but that is a factor. Family. I love that y'all are saying family. Family is a factor. Yes, but that's not it. Anyone else? Keep on. Put it in there. Don't worry about being right. Tell you what you do. Consider your life. Don't worry about getting the right answer, good girls. Go goddess. Go goddess and just take a stab at it. Just leap into the juiciness. What has stopped you? Is it family? Since y'all putting family in there. Mine was fear of rejection. I knew I had a heavy anointing. I knew that my ministry would be an interruption. I knew that it was unlike anything that was out there. I never envisioned it to fit into anybody's boxes. I often thought that I was a misfit, but I also held myself in fear because of feeling like a misfit. First in my family, but then that translated into the world. What was yours? Fear? What kind of fear though, Siri? Tell me what kind of fear. Compensation? What do you mean compensation? What has stopped you, Tanya, around compensation? I want y'all to get really specific. Fear of failure and fear of success. Okay? That's a factor. Yep. All right. Incongruency. I like that. I'm going to play with that. I'm going to play with that one, Camille. I'm going to play with that one. Incongruency. Because that's in the pocket. Rejection and loneliness. I got it. Okay. All right. The one reason why many of us do not get to our sweet spot of compensation and manifestation is because we do not know what we want. When you do not know what you want, the scripture says that, come on, finish this for me. A double-minded man is what? In all of his ways. Many of us are double-minded. We try to please them, but not please ourselves. We know we want to do this, but and then there's a but. But when you become so focused on what it is, you know it's true, because all of you are magical women. Every single one of you that's commenting, every single one of you that even is watching quietly. You know that once you have focused on something that you have desired, when you have made up your mind, like they say, there is nothing like a woman that has a made up mind. Even R. Kelly sang it. When a woman's fed up, it's nothing you can do about it. Think about when you've gotten fed up and then you've said, I'm done with this, I'm on, and then you go on to do something else. But we don't have to have anger in order to manifest. We don't trust pleasure. We don't really trust pleasure because I'm as a bonus mom. And even before being a bonus mom, y'all know I have a mothering spirit. So naturally, people have given their children to me, and I've helped raise my niece. Listen, motherhood is thankless. But so is being a trailblazer. And I was thinking about that this morning. People don't know how tiring it is to be a trailblazer. When you first come before people and they fight you, or first they ignore you. This quote says, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. But there's another way to even say it in corporate America, because a lot of times we'll pray for change. People will pray for change, and you're the change agent. You were born to be the change agent in your family. But the compensation is not always going to come where you deposit it. Come on now, that's good for somebody. The compensation, how many of you have given to a man that did not necessarily give you in return, but you meet somebody else that shows you, and you wondering why you being loved like this? The compensation does not always come where you are planting. Jesus said, teach it and move your feet. I have to remember, we get attached to the outcomes. I'm doing this for them, so I want them to respond. I can't tell you how many clients who said, I didn't know what you was talking about. I didn't get it then. But they had to go away and then come back. How many people now are listening to Bitcoin? My girlfriend told me today that her and another one of my girlfriends said, LaTanya told us this. I probably should create a t-shirt that said LaTanya told us this, because some of those same girlfriends who are in this group, I don't know why some of them stay in here, but they in this group. They are my girlfriends. They watch, but they don't say a thing. And they'll say, but they'll come back later and say, LaTanya, you told us about Bitcoin. You told us about gold. We didn't get it. We wasn't trying to hear that. I can't tell you how many times I went to a posse of friends who was into partying and whatever. And I was talking about healing and integrity in relationships and not gossiping. And they would say things like, here she comes with that old coaching shit. Here she comes with that old Muslim stuff. Here she comes with this, and this. Talk about me behind my back. All kind of things. But when you are a trailblazer, your compensation is not always going to come to you from the place that you deposited it. But do at that moment, do you find your sweet spot? I mean, do whatever it takes to find your sweet spot to stay in the reciprocal law of giving and receiving, or has a part of you shut down? The way to open it up is, like I said, denials first, affirmation second. Many of us, y'all, we are not using our word as our wand. We are not, we are using our word to speak more curses over ourselves than we are to speak the same amount of magic. I know, because I'm guilty sometimes, and I'm the minister. I am ordained minister of the spoken word, throat and mouth, ordained as minister of the spoken word. And sometimes I forget to speak over my life. But when I do, baby, when I get in my zone of prayer, don't you be so such a much in your metaphysics that you can't get sanctified with spiritual law. You better try to get sanctified with spiritual law. You better try to get sanctified with metaphysics. You better try to get sanctified with them crystals. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You better believe I got a shout in me when it comes to metaphysics and law. I shall continue. Denials, affirmations, and find your pleasure, your sweet spot in giving and receiving. I'm trying to plug in. Forgiveness. I'm talking to somebody today who's upset because their bank account is low, overdrawn, or just have a certain amount in it. Everybody is not working with a bonus. Everybody is not in a position to buy a whole Bitcoin when it was $3,000, much less now that it was $12,000. And so you don't start. You don't start anywhere. You're a skeptic first. Some of us are so stubborn because we've been so hurt that we don't make any moves at all. Child, please. It's time. It's your season. It's your season. Some of you have given up because it's the last few weeks of the year. And I'm saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so I want to get y'all juicy this month. I want to get juicy up in here this month so that we can go into the new year in our overflow. Y'all with me on that? So come into the mastermind space, the master class, and let's get this thing popping. If you want to connect with me about anything that I've mentioned, because I'm a woman of many talents with many offers, I have a whole program suite that you can find on LaTanyaTaylor.com or rebirthinternational.net to schedule with me. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. I'm looking forward to seeing the women who are around me be compensated. Yep, mind, body, and spirit. The compensated woman. Let's have some compensated women in this space. and rather than us walking around with these unmet needs. So thank you all for placing in the group some of the reasons why you haven't gotten to your sweet spot. I'm looking at some of your comments. Tanya said, I didn't think I was worth to be compensated equally. Do about it. I'm sorry that I shouldn't say I'm sorry. Cancel. My intention always is to present to you my heart, and I pray that those of you who are watching can look past me being a little under the weather today to even get myself going. I just think I need to take a pause and a Selah. I need some assistance. Pray for me. If I have a prayer request, is for me to build my team. I have at any time at least 3 to 4 programs that are happening at the same time. I don't always advertise everything that I'm doing, but Spirit always compensates. You don't see me always putting everything out there, but Spirit always compensates me. I don't get invited to everybody's platform, but many people borrow what it is that I'm saying and talking about, but they may not invite me to be the main speaker. I don't know if they think their audience is going to be the ones that's going to hear, oh, that's where that came from. I don't know. I'm just being random with you all, but pray for me because I really want to start building my team. I need a program assistant, administrative support, so that I can get my book written. I'm getting naked again. I started this book over 4 years ago. It's in its 4th phase of editing, and I'm just at the point almost ready to send it to somebody I don't know who can just edit it for the language so that I can get it into the marketplace. If that's any desire for my 2018 is to scale up, and some things I have to take my hand off of and turn it over and to delegate. And so that's my get naked at closing. So don't let get naked make you afraid. So I love you all. There's nothing you can do about it. I'll see you all on the other side. The link is above. The group is only $29 subscription. Join us. The rate is going to increase in 2018. Come on in the circle now. I love you. Ciao.